Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Carrot Juice. I am your host, Monte Lee. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this program. I appreciate all of the support and all of the listeners I've gotten so far, and we're going to keep this thing rolling. Before we get started and go into the show, if you're watching this on YouTube, wherever you're listening, make sure you are liking, you're sharing, you're giving this to anybody that would enjoy this show. Secondly, if you're listening on YouTube particularly, make sure that you drop me a BMW. How can you drop me a BMW? BMW is if you believe in my work, make sure that you hit that like button, that you subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really helps out. You are appreciated, and let's get going with the show. All right, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about today, and I'm going to go a little bit with a different format here. What I wanted to talk about today is something that I saw on Instagram recently. So I'm going to get this up on the screen here so you guys can check this out, and then we'll go from there. So bear with me for a second here while I get this loaded up. So just to preface this incident, this was posted by Blog Plug One, and it's entitled, it's I think 24-year-old sugar baby who is stating that her life, it's entitled, "My Life is Ruined. Female student explains to us why it's never wise to get a sugar daddy." So I'm going to play the audio here, and then we are going to react to this.
Don't get a sugar daddy, or when you're younger, you don't mess with older men who can use their power and wealth to take everything away from you, because all of this, all my furniture, everything I've worked for the past few years, is all getting taken. It's gone now because all because my ex filing those false charges on me. I'm currently facing a felony for something that I didn't do. I had to use all my student loan money to bond myself out of jail for something I didn't do. I had to use all my student loan money to subpoenas. The little money that I had left, you know what I'm saying? I was able to get myself a U-Haul to get out here, but the U-Haul crashed because I didn't get the reservation correct, because I now have a bond officer who recently broke my wrist arresting me for something I didn't do. Oh, because a sugar daddy's man, I don't want him because he's a cheater and obviously abusive. I almost got hit by a semi today, TikTok, and I was sitting in the middle of the Arizona desert on the highway, a dangerous highway with semis. I literally semi was 20 feet from here. This is why you don't get a sugar daddy, or when you're...
Okay, so that's the first part of the video. So it's a young woman somewhere in Arizona. In the video, it's showing her on the side of the road with a U-Haul, and it looks like a lot of her items are just spewing about on the highway, on the expressway. Now, my response to this is simply, there's so much there in that bit of audio there. She alluded to, this is the reason why you don't get a sugar daddy. The sugar daddy cheated on her, which I didn't even know was possible because that's not a real relationship. If you have a sugar daddy and you are a sugar baby, you're getting compensated for your services. We'll say that. It's not a relationship. You can't be cheated on by your sugar daddy. That just doesn't make any sense right there. She goes on to say that he was abusive to her, but she's the one that has felony charges right now. I mean, there's a lot going on with that situation, to say the least. And the main thing that I was looking for was some type of accountability whatsoever in any portion on what she actually did in the situation. But did we get any of that? No, we didn't get that at all. We got all, this is happening to me. That is happening to me. This is the reason why that is happening to me. My wrist got broke because the officers manhandled me. First of all, law enforcement, for the most part, does not act aggressively towards people, apprehend them in a physical manner if they're not being combative. Okay. If they're not resisting arrest, if they're not being uncooperative, that's usually a telltale sign of the officer, the deputy being more aggressive towards you. So it's a high probability that during that arrest, she was being erratic and being uncooperative. And I'll just put allegedly in there. However, there's more to this story for sure. And there's more in this clip. So I'm going to play the second part of this and then we'll react to that as well.
And I was sitting there and I had no reception. I was able to text or call, but they were not answering their phones, the emergency assistants. So I called him and he told me to call him if I was still there in an hour, and he wouldn't go to the link to get the report to the U-Haul roadside assistants to come get me. So I had to call the cops and highway patrol that came and got me. But this is why you don't fuck with an older man, because now I had everything going for me. I worked myself for years, from being a stripper to an exotic dancer. An exotic dancer, stripper to a pre-med student. And I have a 3.7 GPA on Jesus, and but he's filing a felony on me now, so I didn't know if I'll get student aid anymore, but I'll be accepted into the colleges that I worked so hard to get into for years. I can't keep any of this stuff that I have for years, and I'm currently facing felonies. And he has paid lawyers while I'm 24, so I'm just a college student, and I don't have any. So this is what happens when you fuck with the sugar daddy. And I'm sitting there and
so yeah, she goes on to say, yep, you heard it right. This is why you don't mess with a sugar daddy. Okay. She's 24. She was a stripper, an exotic dancer, and now she's a med student. I don't know if it's just me, but isn't a stripper and an exotic dancer the same thing? And then she alluded to having a 3-point-something GPA, losing all of the stuff that she worked so hard for. That's in this U-Haul. It's like a couch and some like trash and items, clothing and stuff in this U-Haul, right? All the stuff she worked so hard for. But how did you work so hard for it if you're a sugar baby? What is the job description of a sugar baby? Let's look this up, because this don't have no common sense attached to it in any way. So according to Wikipedia, this is what it means to be a sugar baby, okay? So sugar dating, also called sugaring, is a transaction. Oh, let me record this. Okay. So sugar dating, also called sugaring, is a transactional dating practice typically characterized by an older, wealthier person and a younger person in need of financial assistance in a mutually beneficial relationship. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, the term sugar is slang, but is often used as a modifier to sweeten something and as a euphemism for money. Payment can be received by way of money, gifts, support, or other material benefits in exchange for companionship or a dating-like relationship. The person who receives the gifts is called a sugar baby, while their paying partner is called a sugar daddy or sugar mama. So for those of you who didn't know, that is what we're alluding to here. Yeah. Welcome to 2021, people. So going back to this story and what was going on in this situation, this young lady has a lot going on in her life, to say the least. If you see her picture here, she has these comically large lips. I mean, she's 24, but she looks like she's going on 42. I've seen 24s in my life, 24-year-olds in my life, and I've never seen them look like this. This is scary. And I know that the current trajectory we are on right now when it comes to some of the people that are growing up right now, these Gen Zers, man, trouble is all I have to say about the future with them. So going on with the story, she said that she had to bail. She didn't have the money to bail herself out. So she had to have a bail person bail her out. Okay. Are you making any money from your sugaring, or is it all clothes, dinners? What is happening? What is going on? What benefit are you getting from being a sugar baby if you can't pay for your own bond? So I brought up this story just to highlight that we have to have more common sense as a culture. Okay. People, stop putting value on people who do not deserve to be valued. There's a lot of just trauma, but just messiness involved that you put in your life. And obviously that's going on with that lady's life. And she's not just to pick on her, but I'm seeing a trend with this social media era, with the instant gratification, with so many young women saying, if you don't make six figures, if you're not over 6'3", then you can't date me. And then on the flip side of that, like, what value are you adding to somebody else? She could have made some different choices in her life, and now she's looking for pity from all of us as to why she's in the situation that she's in. And by no way am I trying to condone people who are in toxic relationships, but the accountability has to be there. The choices that you made, you chose to be a sugar baby. You chose to not save any of your money, apparently, and that's the situation that you're currently in. So I brought that up, and I wanted to start the show with that because lately I have been seeing and hearing a trend of a lot of people making excuses for where they are in their life. And it's really starting to just become redundant and sad, honestly, because you make the choices you can't change what comes at you in the world. The only thing that you can affect and that you can change how you react to it. So, for instance, if you are in a situation that is not the best for you, or if you're in a relationship that's toxic, you can choose to leave it, but you also made the choice initially to speak to that person. Okay. And what I find more often than not is people attract what they are. So if they're in a relationship that is combative and that is not healthy for them, usually there are other options before that option that you could have chose that you chose not to for whatever reason. And for a lot of the young people, and especially young women, they're choosing men of wealth, of status, that have these resources, and looking over and looking past a lot of the people who would be a healthy and viable option for them. Not saying that people who have wealth and have money aren't viable options, but what I'm saying is, like, you can't look over people that could be good for you just because they don't have the resources yet. So I do a segment every week, and then this week on things that I wish I knew when I was 17, I wanted to talk to people and talk about not focusing on trying to attract, let's see if I can get this here. Okay, let me get it. Pull this up real quick. Give me a second. So this week, what I wanted to talk about was not focusing on people and not focusing on trying to impress everyone. This week, I wanted to talk about solitude. Me personally, I enjoy solitude. When was the last time you took a trip and you took a trip by yourself? I would encourage you to do things, take trips, see the world, Go outside of your neighborhood, go outside of your state if you can. And when you go to that place, leave your itinerary open-ended. Because when you do that, you leave room for adventure. You leave room for spontaneity, for things that you didn't expect to happen. Because far too often, you ever been on a trip or been in a situation or went on a vacation with someone or with a group of people, and there's always the organizer in the group, like the person that is super tedious, that has every single thing planned out. Like when we get up in the morning, we're going to have breakfast here at 9, and then we're going to go to this coffee shop at 10:30, and then we're going to go to this museum or this event at 1, and it goes on and on and on until 9 or 10 o'clock, and then you just restart the process all over again. Do you think the other people in that group are going to have a good time and really experience the place that they're at and the city that they're in? If it's just an itinerary, there's a list, there's an organized agenda and schedule the whole time. Don't you go on vacation to get away from that? Don't you go on vacation for exploration? To take in the sounds? To feel the city under your feet and walk around? Me, I love to just walk around in the city. Me, I love to just keep my options open when it comes to something new. And I would encourage you as a young person to find what you like. And the only way you could really find who you are and what you like is by being by yourself, is by being in solitude for a good amount of time. Not saying people are bad, but I think far too often we have a constant stimulus because of this, because of our phones, because of social media. And me, myself too, I love YouTube. I watch it all the time. But I think it's gone overboard now to where we don't know who we are. I wanted to bring this up to you guys as well. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a podcast, YouTube brand channel by the name of No Jumper. I listened to an interview on there. Shout out to Adam22. Coolest podcast in the world, he always says. It's really sweet. He did an interview with someone that I never heard of before. His name is Hobson. Hobson is an underground rapper. And he's got a cult following. However, he's not well known. So the interview was about 1 week ago. And I'll link it in the show notes to this episode. And Hobson, I'll do that now before I get. And Hobson, in the thumbnail, you see, he's got a mask. He's got a ninja mask on, and he kind of looks like Scorpion. And his eyes, he has contacts that are like white. So it's kind of got like, he's got like a creepy, like almost ghost face, right? So I clicked on an interview, and I didn't quite know what to think because I had never seen somebody look quite like him. He's an interesting character. But I listened to the interview, and Hobson described how ever since a young age, he's always had a different way of thinking. He's always known that he's wanted to not just conform and be like everybody else. And some of the things he was saying was very profound, and it stuck with me. He talked about how he always wanted to be a ninja ever since he could grow up. And people around him, his mom, his family, his friends, teachers, people in his life had always told him, like, you can't do that. That's something that you can't do. You need to be like this. You need to wear this type of collared shirt. You need to wear these khakis. You need to go to college and go and work through business. And he talked about how that just sounded like the worst thing he could ever think of. And why would you conform to a standard if you know it's not you? So he talked about how he pretty much carved a path of just being original and being unique and not giving, he literally says, like, not giving a fuck about what anybody thinks. And that was so refreshing to hear, because I know personally I've kind of lost some of my playfulness in a way. And I'm trying to gain that back, and I am gaining it back slowly and surely through this show, through this podcast. And I remembered that growing up, me and my brothers, we wanted to be ninjas. We wanted to be ninjas almost like every Halloween. And I forgot about that. Not saying I'm about to start wearing a ninja costume around quick. No, I'm not going to go that far. But I remember that I thought they were cool. And I did that for 3 or 4 Halloweens. And I guess what I want to say is I'm on a journey of exploration and finding who I really am and what I really want to do and dressing the way I want to dress. I think once you stop, one thing I realized about myself, once I stop progressing and learning myself is when I could feel stagnant. So this past week, I've always realized that I have like a fondness for watches, for timepieces. Okay. I recently just picked myself up a Shinola. Shout out to Detroit. And I'm learning more about watches, and I've been on YouTube and figuring out like what does all the different terms that they use mean. Like, what's the difference between a chronograph watch and the difference between a diver and the difference between a classic or a vintage watch, and what does the various movements is what they talk about, like the inner workings of how it, works inside work out. So I've just been learning about that. And usually once I find something like that, I just continue to learn about it and develop and find, like, learning interests me, whether it be through documentary, whether it be through reading articles, whether it be through podcasts. I'm a learner. And I don't care if some people think that's weird or I'm a nerd or anything like that. That really doesn't matter to me. As long as I'm learning, I feel like I'm being myself, and I'm constantly evolving as a person. So I know I'm rambling, but I wanted this to be a little more of a less formal episode, and I just kind of wanted to check in with you guys. And honestly, I hope that everybody really looks inward and cuts off all of the media and all of the phones and look deep within yourself and find out who you really are and who you really want to be. Because a person can't be that for you, no matter how hard you try. You can't add value to someone and be someone that people are going to be around if you're constantly seeking validation and seeking acceptance from other people. That's not how it works. When you have inward self-esteem and worth, and you care about you and you like who you are, it's going to exude in confidence, and people want to be around confident people. So a long story short, what I want to say to you, a young person, when you're 17, is enjoy your solitude. Don't be afraid to be weird. Focus on learning who you are, and also explore in every sense of the word. Explore yourself, explore your environment, have an explorative mind when it comes to speaking to other people and gaining information from other people. I think one of the biggest assets and one of the greatest assets that we have right in front of us is is older people who are more mature, people who have lived more life than us. Ask them questions. Ask them whatever's on your mind and whatever you want to know. You'd be surprised by how much information somebody will give you if you just ask them intently about life and about their experiences and get some insight and gain some insight. I think mentorship is very important, and far too often we're looking at social media and we're looking at propaganda that's going on in the news media about life, and we're not actually getting firsthand knowledge from people who have lived life, who might have a different perspective. So yeah, long story short, develop yourself and learn, explore, have an explorative mind, and don't be afraid to be yourself. So yeah, I've been rambling on this, and you know what? It's felt really good. I'm going to use this platform, and I've always wanted it to be real. I know I'm going to get into topics and I'm going to get into different things, but that wasn't going to be this show. And every once in a while, I just want to have a check-in and see how you guys are doing. So, take care of yourselves. I know that the world is opening up. They're talking about new variants and things with the COVID possibly rising, but I just want everybody to be safe. Enjoy your lives. Don't take one day for granted. Be grateful for everybody that you have in your life, for the time that we have, because the most important things in this world is time and the people that you share it with. So with that being said, love somebody. Okay. Hug somebody. Do something good for somebody, not expecting anything in return. And I'll speak to you guys next week. Be well.